Montana's frozen dawn cut through the valley like a blade, wind howling against the empty barn. Rancher Colt Maddox had woken early, chasing the sound of something soft, a whimper, a cry. He pushed the barn door open, boots crunching over hay, then he froze. A tiny girl, no older than 6, sat curled beside an empty feed bag, trembling, eyes wide with fear and hunger. She whispered, barely breathing, "Please, don't hurt me." Colt slowly knelt, removing his gloves. "Sweetheart, I'm not here to hurt you." But she scooted back, clutching a thin blanket to her chest. Her lips were cracked, her hair tangled from cold wind. He looked around, no wagon tracks, no footprints, nothing but snow. "Where's your family?" he asked gently. Her throat bobbed. "Mama's outside." Then she added with painful clarity, "Mama's dying." The rancher's heartbeat slammed into his ribs. He rose instantly. "Show me." The girl hesitated and pointed with a shaking hand toward the tree line behind the barn. Colt lifted his coat, wrapped it around her small shoulders, and carried her outside. The storm had buried everything but not the shape he saw collapsing near the fence, someone lying half-covered in snow, unmoving. Colt rushed to the figure. A young woman, maybe mid-20s, lay on her side, arms curled around nothing. Her fingertips were purple, her breath shallow and broken. The girl struggled in Colt's arms, whispering, "Mama, Mama, wake up." Colt pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck, faint pulse, barely there. "Hold on," he muttered. "Both of you just hold on." He carried the mother in his arms and held the little girl against his chest, stumbling through the whipping wind back to the barn. The girl sobbed into his sleeve, whispering, "Please, take her, not me. Mama's more important." The words stabbed him like a knife. No child should beg like that. Colt clenched his jaw. "I'm taking both of you. No one gets left behind. Not today." Inside the ranch house, he laid the mother near the fireplace, covering her in blankets. The heat began thawing frost from her lashes. The girl hovered beside her, shaking uncontrollably. "She didn't eat for 2 days," the girl whispered. "She gave me everything." Colt stared at them, skinny, exhausted, abandoned by the world. Something inside him, long dead, cracked open. He heated broth and held the spoon near the mother's lips. She didn't respond. "We need to warm her slowly," he told the girl. "Your mama is strong. She just needs time." The girl nodded, but fear clouded her eyes. "People don't help us," she murmured. "They tell us we're trouble, that Mama's cursed." Colt froze. He'd heard those cruel superstitions before. Utter nonsense used to discard the weak. "Sweetheart, listen to me," Colt said firmly. "Whoever told you that lied." She blinked slowly, like no one had ever defended her before. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lena," she whispered. "And Mama's name?" "Etta." Colt repeated the names quietly, names that already felt like they belonged in his home hours past. Colt fed Lena warm bread and stew, watching her devour food like someone who hadn't eaten in days. "Mama didn't want me to starve," Lena said. "She said she'd rather die than see me hungry." Her voice cracked on the last word. Colt swallowed hard. The devotion of a mother. He understood that kind of love. It was the same love he once lost. He checked on Etta again. Her breathing steadied slightly. Color returned to her cheeks. Colt brushed a strand of hair from her face, surprised at how young she looked, too young to carry this much pain. Lena curled up beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. Colt watched the tiny family and whispered to the silent room, "You're safe now, both of you." Night fell. Snow piled high. Colt stayed awake by the fire, listening for any change in Etta's breathing. Hours into the night she stirred. A weak whisper escaped her cracked lips. "Lena?" Colt leaned close. "She's right beside you. She's safe." Her eyes fluttered open, beautiful but filled with fear. Where are we?" "You're in my home," Colt said softly. "I found Lena in the barn, and you in the snow." Etta's breath hitched. Shame and terror washed over her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "We didn't mean to trespass. I just needed shelter for her." Colt shook his head firmly. "You don't apologize for trying to keep your child alive." Tears slid down Etta's cheeks. Lena hugged her tightly. "Mama, he helped us." He didn't yell. Etta looked at Colt, confusion mixing with gratitude. Why would you help strangers? Colt hesitated. The memory of a grave on his land, the wife he lost, flashed through his mind. Because no one helped my family when we needed it. I won't let that happen again. Etta stared at him, understanding settling deep. She whispered, "Thank you." Something in Colt's chest tightened. It wasn't pity, it wasn't obligation. It was something warmer, something he thought he'd buried forever. But he pushed it aside. For now, they needed food, warmth, safety. Feelings could wait, saving them couldn't. By the next morning, Etta could sit up. The storm had finally calmed. Colt prepared breakfast, eggs, biscuits, hot tea. When he brought the tray, Etta tried to stand, but nearly collapsed. He steadied her gently. "Easy, you're still healing." She flushed with embarrassment. "I don't want to be a burden." Colt met her gaze. "You're not. You're human." Lena clung to her mother's arm. "Mama, can we stay here a little, just until you're strong?" Etta hesitated, shame clouding her eyes. "We can't trouble him longer." Before Colt could speak, Lena whispered, "But Mama, we have nowhere else." Colt's voice cut through gently but firmly. "Both of you can stay as long as it takes." Over the next few days, Etta regained strength. She helped in the kitchen, brushed the horses, even sang Lena to sleep in the evenings. Her voice was soft, trembling but full of warmth. A sound Colt hadn't heard in his home in years. The silence that once haunted the ranch began to fade. But one evening, Colt found Etta sitting alone outside, staring at the mountains, tears dripping silently. "What's wrong?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Lena's father left us. Said we were dead weight. Said no man would ever want a woman like me." Her voice broke. "He said Lena wasn't worth feeding." Rage flared in Colt's chest like wildfire. He knelt beside her. "Etta, hear me well. Any man who abandons a child is no man at all. And anyone who told you you're worthless was lying." She looked up, trembling. "Why are you so kind to us?" Colt swallowed. "Because I lost someone too, and I know what loneliness feels like." Their eyes lingered, the cold night air melting between them. But Etta quickly looked away. "We shouldn't depend on you. People might think—" Colt sighed softly. "Let them think whatever they want. I don't care about them. I care about you two." It was the closest he had come to confessing the ache in his heart. The next morning, Lena ran to the barn, laughing for the first time. Colt built her a small wooden swing, just for her. Etta watched her daughter's joy, tears streaming down her cheeks. She whispered to Colt, "You gave her childhood back." He replied quietly, "Kids shouldn't carry scars this big." But peace never lasts long. One afternoon, a rough-looking man rode onto the property. Lena's father, drunk, angry, shouting that Etta and Lena were his property. Lena hid behind Colt, shaking violently. Etta's face turned white. The man stomped toward them, yelling, "Hand them over!" Colt stepped between them, tall as the barn door, voice like thunder. "They're not going anywhere." The man tried reaching for Lena. Colt grabbed his wrist and twisted hard. "You abandoned them. They owe you nothing." The man snarled, "You can't keep them." Colt stared him down, cold as steel. "Watch me." The man finally left, humiliated. Etta collapsed into tears. Lena clung to her mother. Colt placed a reassuring hand on their backs. "No one will ever hurt either of you again. Not while I'm breathing." That night, neither of them could sleep, but for the first time, their fear wasn't loneliness. It was the memory of almost losing the man who protected them. The next morning, Etta approached Colt in the kitchen. She looked nervous, hands trembling. "Colt, I don't know how to repay you." He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." But she stepped closer, whispering, "We owe you our lives." Their eyes met, raw, unguarded. Something sparks, something undeniable. Lena ran in unexpectedly, hugging Colt's leg. "Can we stay with you forever?" Colt froze. Etta's breath caught. Lena continued, "Mama smiles here. I'm not scared here. I want this to be home." Etta's eyes filled. She whispered, "Lena." Colt knelt, brushing Lena's hair gently. "Sweetheart, I'd be honored if this became your home." Etta stepped closer, tears falling. Colt, are you sure we come with pain? With history. Colt gently lifted her chin. Then we'll heal together. All three of us. She leaned into him, fragile but hopeful. He wrapped his arms around both her and Lena. For the first time in years, his home felt full again. Spring arrived weeks later. Flowers bloomed across the ranch. Animals roamed freely. Laughter echoed across the fields. Colt, Etta, and Lena sat on the porch. Family not by blood, but by choice. Lena curled in Colt's lap, whispering, I'm not scared anymore. Etta took Colt's hand, smiling softly. And Colt, looking at the two souls who healed him, whispered back, You're home now, both of you, forever.